Have you ever had a thought, and then the phone rings, and it's the very person you were thinking of? Or you meet a stranger who changes the course of your life, at a time when you were lost and searching for direction? To the unconscious mind, these are accidents. But to the awakened soul, these are messages. There is no such thing as coincidence. What you call random is the language of the unconscious, the whisper of the cosmos, a deeper pattern weaving your story. Let us now explore the 5 key truths behind the idea that nothing is a coincidence, through the lens of Jungian psychology. Most people wander through life believing that the world is governed by chance, that random events, coincidences, and encounters happen without meaning. But the awakened soul begins to see something deeper, a pattern, a rhythm, an invisible current that pulls certain people, events, and experiences into our path at precisely the right time. It is not luck. It is not accident. It is what Carl Jung called synchronicity, a mysterious alignment of inner and outer worlds, where the psyche and the universe dance in harmony. When you are truly present, when your consciousness opens beyond the limits of logic, you begin to notice the subtle ways in which life speaks to you. A book falls off a shelf and answers the question that's been haunting you. A stranger shares a story that mirrors your own inner struggle. A dream reveals the exact image you need to understand your waking life. These are not meaningless coincidences. These are messages, from the self, from the unconscious, from the collective order that underpins all of reality. What appears as chaos is often just a pattern not yet understood. The universe does not operate randomly. It is alive, intelligent, symbolic. And it responds to the contents of your unconscious mind, not to your wishes, but to your truth. When you are disconnected from your essence, life feels noisy and confusing. But the moment you begin to walk the path of your soul, you'll find that doors open, people arrive, and guidance emerges, not with effort, but with synchronicity. These moments are not rare. They are always present, but few have trained their vision to see them. Synchronicity is not something you control. It is something you align with. It is a state of inner and outer resonance. When your inner world becomes coherent, when your actions, values, and emotions are integrated, the outer world responds in kind. Suddenly, what once felt like chaos reveals its hidden order. The puzzle pieces begin to fit. The questions begin to make sense. Synchronicity is the language of the deep unconscious. It speaks in symbols, in archetypes, in events that feel charged with meaning. When such a moment arises, a moment that touches your soul without any logical explanation, you are being invited to wake up. To pay attention. To step into a deeper participation with life. So do not dismiss the strange encounter. Do not ignore the repeated symbol. Do not brush off the uncanny alignment of events. These are not trivial. They are sacred. And if you are willing to listen, they will guide you to who you were always meant to be. Because in truth, there is no such thing as coincidence, only connection. Only a deeper order, waiting to be seen by those who are finally ready to see. Nothing in your life shows up by accident. The people you meet, the challenges you face, the patterns that keep repeating, they are all mirrors of something deeper within you. Beneath the surface of your everyday awareness lies the unconscious mind, vast, mysterious, and powerful. It holds not only the parts of yourself you have forgotten, but also the parts you have rejected, denied, or never truly understood. And whether you realize it or not, this inner world is shaping the outer one. Carl Jung taught that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life. And you will call it fate. The unconscious doesn't care about your comfort. It doesn't care about your ego's preferences. Its purpose is your wholeness, your integration, your growth. And for that reason, it will attract into your life whatever is necessary to awaken you, even if that means pain, confusion, or heartbreak. Why do you keep encountering the same kind of person in your relationships? Why do certain situations keep pulling you back into emotional loops you thought you had escaped? It is not because you are cursed. It is not because the world is against you. It is because your soul is trying to complete a psychological pattern. The people and situations that frustrate you the most are often carriers of your own shadow, the traits, fears, and wounds you have yet to face within yourself. The unconscious speaks in symbols. And life becomes symbolic when you begin to observe it through this lens. That friend who betrayed you may not simply be a villain, they may be the embodiment of a truth you refuse to confront. That job that drained your spirit may have existed to teach you about your boundaries, your worth, your untapped potential. The betrayal, the failure, the rejection, none of it was meaningless. It was all material for your becoming. The moment you begin to approach life not as a series of random experiences, but as a dialogue between your conscious self and your deeper psyche, everything changes. You stop blaming. You start listening. You begin to ask, what is this teaching me about myself? What part of me have I abandoned, that life is now forcing me to see? The unconscious is not your enemy, it is your guide. But it does not use logic. It uses resonance. It uses repetition. It will bring the same lesson again and again until you are ready to integrate it. And once you do, once you truly face the part of yourself that has been hiding in the dark, the pattern breaks. You no longer attract what hurts you. You attract what supports you. Because you are no longer split within. Growth is not about striving. It is about remembering. It is about reclaiming the pieces of yourself that you lost along the way. And life, with all its twists and turns, is simply the mirror reflecting back what you are ready to heal. So the next time you ask, why is this happening to me, pause and go deeper. Ask instead, what in me needed this experience to evolve? That is the moment your suffering becomes wisdom. That is the moment you reclaim your power. Because the unconscious is always listening, and life is always responding. There is a reason you were born. A deeper purpose embedded within your very being, beyond your job, your name, or the roles you play in society. This is not a fantasy or a romantic idea. It is a fundamental truth of the psyche. You carry within you something unique, something no one else on earth can express in exactly the same way. Jung called this process of discovering and fulfilling that inner potential the individuation process, the journey toward becoming who you truly are. But the path to your destiny is not always straight. It does not come with a map or a clear set of instructions. In fact, it often begins with confusion, chaos, or even deep suffering. Because before you can live your truth, you must first shed the lies you've been living. You must unlearn the false self, the persona you created to be accepted, loved, or safe in a world that often fears authenticity. This is why life, in its strange and poetic intelligence, will often disrupt your plans. It will dismantle your illusions. It will take you through detours, breakdowns, and endings, not to punish you, but to reveal you. Your ego resists these moments. It wants control, clarity, certainty. But your soul doesn't operate by the logic of the ego. It moves by meaning, by transformation, by becoming. You may think you've made a mistake when a relationship ends or a career path collapses. But sometimes, these are the very things required to realign you with your deeper path. Sometimes, what feels like failure is life's way of correcting your course. Because there is a larger intelligence guiding you, one that sees the whole picture, even when you only see fragments. There is a kind of quiet grace that begins to enter your life when you start trusting this process. When you begin to believe that you are not here by accident, that there is a thread of purpose running through every experience you've had, even the painful ones. You start to look back and realize that some of the worst moments were necessary initiations. They woke you up. They stripped away what no longer served you. They brought you closer to your truth. And here's what's remarkable. The more you step into alignment with that truth, the more you honor your intuition, your values, your unique voice, the more the world around you begins to respond. The right people appear. The right opportunities unfold. Not because you forced them, but because you became ready for them. Your soul knows where it's going. And life, when trusted, becomes a co-creator in that journey. The signs are always there, in your passions, your longings, your dreams, your wounds. Even the things that frustrate you carry clues. They're all part of a larger design pulling you toward wholeness. But to hear this guidance, you must slow down. You must become still enough to listen. Not to the noise of the world, but to the wisdom within. Because your destiny is not out there waiting to be found, it's already inside you, waiting to be remembered. So walk forward, not with fear, but with faith. Faith not in external certainty, but in the inner knowing that your life has meaning. That you are being shaped. That everything you've experienced, every detour, every disappointment, every joy, is part of the sacred architecture of your becoming. You were not meant to simply survive this life. You were meant to unfold, to awaken, to become. Your soul is not lost. It is simply waiting for you to remember the path you were always meant to walk. It is easy to embrace the idea of synchronicity when it comes wrapped in joy, the perfect timing, the fortunate encounter, the dream that guides you towards something beautiful. But what about the moments that break you? What about the losses that come without warning, the betrayals that leave you shattered, the uncanny patterns that seem to lead only to pain? These, too, are not accidents. They are not punishments. They are initiations, sacred and brutal thresholds that strip away illusion and awaken something deeper in the soul. Life, in its most mysterious wisdom, often speaks loudest through pain. It knows that the ego resists change. It clings to comfort, to stories, to the familiar, even when the familiar is no longer serving us. And so, the unconscious collaborates with life itself to create an experience that we cannot ignore. It places us face to face with our own shadow, our fears, our unresolved wounds, our unclaimed power. And this confrontation often arrives wrapped in suffering. You may not realize it at the time, but those painful coincidences, the relationships that fall apart at the moment you thought you were safe, the sudden loss that forces you to pause and reflect, the repeated failures that echo like a pattern, they are all meaningful. They are thresholds. Something in you is dying, yes. But something else is being born. And the price of this rebirth is often the shedding of everything you thought you were. These moments are not mistakes. They are not cruel tricks of fate. They are symbolic events designed by a deeper intelligence to move you closer to your truth. They initiate you into a more honest, more grounded, more whole version of yourself. But they do so by taking you through the fire. In the ancient world, initiations were sacred rites, rituals in which a person had to symbolically die to their old identity before stepping into a new one. Today, life itself becomes the ritual. And the moments of greatest pain often mark the beginning of a new chapter, a new consciousness, a new self. You don't always see it right away. At first, there is grief, confusion, even rage. But in time, if you are willing to face what the experience is asking of you, the meaning begins to emerge. You begin to see how the heartbreak awakened your capacity for self-love. How the rejection redirected you toward your true calling. How the failure humbled you, softened you, prepared you for something far greater. And you begin to understand, you were not being destroyed. You were being initiated. Carl Jung often spoke of the shadow, the dark, unconscious parts of ourselves that we project onto others or bury deep within. Painful synchronicities often arise when it is time to integrate these shadows. They appear as external events, but they are actually internal summons. Life brings forth the exact experience that reveals what you have not yet healed, what you have not yet owned, what you have not yet become. And when you begin to see pain through this lens, something changes. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin to ask, "What part of me is being called to grow?" You stop seeing yourself as a victim of cruel fate, and start recognizing yourself as a soul undergoing transformation. This shift is everything. Because in that shift, your suffering becomes sacred. It no longer breaks you, it refines you. It no longer defines you, it awakens you. And suddenly, what once felt like coincidence becomes the clearest sign that your life is unfolding with meaning, even in its most difficult chapters. So the next time pain arrives uninvited, disguised as coincidence, or loss, or disruption, do not turn away. Do not numb it, avoid it, or try to bypass it with false positivity. Instead, go deeper. Listen. Trust. Because behind that pain is a door. And on the other side of that door is a version of you that is more whole, more conscious, more alive. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. This is not the end. It is a beginning, and like all sacred beginnings, it often arrives dressed as an ending. There is a silent force that moves beneath the surface of your life. You may not always feel it. You may not always believe in it. But it is there, patiently guiding, quietly arranging, perpetually aligning. When you feel lost, when the world around you seems disconnected or indifferent, it is easy to believe you are alone. But solitude is not the same as isolation. And just because something is invisible does not mean it is absent. You are not separate from life. You are not a lone fragment drifting aimlessly through a meaningless universe. You are an expression of a much larger intelligence, a piece of the cosmos woven with intention. Jung understood this deeply. He knew that the psyche of the individual is not disconnected from the greater whole. He called it the collective unconscious, a shared reservoir of symbols, patterns, and truths that binds us all. And through this invisible network, your soul remains in constant dialogue with the deeper layers of existence. This is why certain people appear in your life at just the right time. This is why moments of serendipity seem to emerge from nowhere, as if reality itself is responding to your inner state. When you are in alignment, not with the expectations of the world, but with the quiet truth of your being, life flows differently. You begin to notice that support arrives when you need it most. That clarity emerges when you are ready to receive it. That even in the darkest nights, something within you knows where the light will come from. But alignment does not mean everything is easy or perfect. It means everything is meaningful. Even the challenges you face, even the heartbreaks and delays, are part of the orchestration. The deeper part of you, the self, as Jung called it, is always reaching forward, calling you into wholeness. And when you answer that call, when you start living in accordance with your inner truth, life mirrors that choice. You are no longer fighting the current. You are moving with it. This is not something you have to force. You do not have to manipulate your way into alignment. You simply have to return to who you truly are. You must become honest, painfully honest, about what you value, what you desire, what you fear, and what you've been hiding. The more authentic you become, the more aligned you become. And when you are aligned, you are supported, not by the shallow approval of others, but by the unseen structure of the universe itself. Think back to the moments when everything somehow came together, when you were led to a conversation that shifted your thinking, a book that echoed your exact experience, or a chance encounter that changed your direction. Those weren't accidents. They were confirmations. Echoes from the universe reminding you that you are not walking this path alone. And even when it feels like no one understands you, even when the people around you can't see your transformation or your pain, know this: you are still being carried. The alignment is still there. Sometimes the solitude is part of the recalibration. Sometimes the silence is the space in which something new is forming. You are not forgotten. You are not adrift. You are deeply, intimately connected to a larger process of unfolding. And every step you take toward your own authenticity is a step closer to that process revealing itself. What you seek is also seeking you, not through noise and chaos, but through alignment, resonance, and quiet trust. So walk your path, even when others don't see it. Listen to the inner voice, even when it trembles. Trust in the process, even when it makes no logical sense. Because you are not alone. You are never alone. You are aligned, with yourself, with life, with the quiet intelligence that is always guiding you home. So, the next time something strange happens, the next time you just happen to be in the right place at the right time, don't dismiss it. Pause. Listen. Because nothing is random in the life of a person who is truly awake. Nothing is a coincidence. Everything is a message. Everything is connected. And your soul already knows the way.